Every night, Las Vegas keeps wearing the same bright mask as if nothing underneath is beginning to crack. The Strip still glows, casino floors still ring, hotel lobbies still swallow suitcases, like the city has an endless appetite. But look past the lights and into the dining rooms, and this is where the city starts to betray itself. Las Vegas is not empty. In 2025, the city still welcomed 38.5 million visitors. Reid Airport still handled almost 55 million passengers. The lights did not go out, the hotels did not vanish, the slot machines did not forget how to take money. So why do the dining rooms feel different? Because the problem is not tourists disappearing. It is something quieter, inside the way Las Vegas now turns visitors into profit. The clearest proof is not a shaky phone video of empty tables. It is written inside MGM's own books. Its Las Vegas Strip food and beverage revenue fell by 4% in 2025, mainly because fewer people actually sat down to eat. Those missing covers are not abstract. They are empty booths, thinner tips, shorter shifts, and a kitchen burning money before the dinner rush begins. This is the paradox. Las Vegas can still look rich, while its restaurants become weaker. So are we watching the death of Las Vegas restaurants? Or something colder? Let's search for the answer together, right after this. The first answer is hidden inside a number so large, it almost looks harmless. 38.5 million visitors. On paper, that sounds like enough bodies to keep every stove hot. But restaurants do not survive on bodies counted at the airport. They survive on plates ordered, tables turned, and bills paid. That is where the small decline becomes dangerous. In 2025, the average Las Vegas trip fell to 3.2 nights. On paper, that looks almost harmless. But inside a restaurant, it means fewer chances to sell a table before the guest goes home. And food and drink spending carried the same warning. Visitors were still eating, but they were pulling back. Food and drink spending fell by more than $30 per trip. In a city built on millions of small transactions, $30 missing from one visitor may sound small. But multiply it across a destination already losing momentum, and the empty chair becomes easier to understand. But the empty chair is only the first wound. The deeper problem begins before the guest even reaches the restaurant. In 2025, hotel occupancy fell to 80.3%. The average daily room rate was still $183.52. Las Vegas had fewer occupied rooms, but it was still not cheap to stay there. Do you see the contradiction? The city felt softer, but it did not feel cheaper. A visitor could walk past thinner crowds and quieter dining rooms, yet still feel the trip reaching into his pocket from every direction. And restaurants are caught directly in the middle of that anger. Because food away from home in the West was still 3.3% more expensive than a year earlier. Something that keeps grinding. But the most dangerous signal was not only that food became more expensive. In 2025, combined spending on food, drink, shopping, and sightseeing fell by about 10.6% per visitor. But spending on sporting events and paid attractions rose by about 33.7%. That is not the disappearance of money. That is the redirection of money. The guest does not need to become poor to change behavior. He only needs to look at the menu and ask one question. Is this still worth it? That is the silent boycott. And for Las Vegas restaurants, that is terrifying. Because they are not only competing with each other anymore, they are competing with the whole trip becoming too expensive before dinner. And when the whole trip becomes too expensive, the first victim is usually not the luxury restaurant with a famous name. It is the middle. TGI Fridays filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in November 2024. A few months later, 4 of its Las Vegas casino locations closed at the Orleans, Sam's Town, Aliante, and Gold Coast. 4 restaurants gone from casino floors almost at once. Too expensive for the guest angry at the total trip cost, and too ordinary for the guest who came to Las Vegas to buy a spectacle. This is why the middle begins to crack first. And TGI Fridays was not the only warning sign. In the first half of 2025 alone, the Las Vegas Review-Journal counted 22 notable restaurant closures across the valley, and even that list was not complete. The closures are not only happening to weak names nobody remembers. Julian Serrano Tapas at Aria closed after serving Las Vegas since 2009. Montana Meat Company closed one of its 24-hour locations after 20 years. Mr. Chow at Caesar's Palace closed after a 9-year run. Blue Ribbon at the Cosmopolitan announced its end after 15 years. So is Las Vegas losing restaurants because they failed? Or because the city no longer needs the kind of restaurants they used to be? To see what the city no longer needs, look at the buffet. Before 2020, Las Vegas had more than 70 buffets. Today, the list is much smaller, and some of the most famous buffet spaces have been turned into something completely different. Rio's Carnival World Buffet did not return as the same old feast. It became the Canteen Food Hall. Aria's Buffet did not come back as a buffet. It became Proper Eats Food Hall. A food hall is cleaner for the operator. Smaller brands, faster turnover, more pricing control. Less of that old Las Vegas promise that a normal visitor could sit down and feel, for one plate, like he had beaten the house. This is not just a change in taste, it is a change in what Las Vegas wants a restaurant to do. The old buffet said, "Stay longer, eat more, feel like you won." The new food hall says, "Choose a brand, pay per item, move faster, keep the square footage working." So when people ask why restaurants are disappearing, maybe the answer is not only that customers changed, maybe the city changed the deal first. But when the deal changes, not every visitor reacts the same way. In 2025, one of Las Vegas's most important international markets quietly pulled back. Canada is the city's largest international source of visitors, and Canadian visitors fell from 1,448,700 to 1,196,300. That is more than 250,000 Canadian trips missing in 1 year. And total international visitation fell 4.8% to 4,726,500. On a spreadsheet, that is a tourism category. Inside a restaurant, it is a table never seated, a tip that never lands, and one more ordinary night that cannot quite become profitable. Because international visitors are not just bodies passing through a lobby. They often stay longer, plan more, spend more, and turn one trip into several checks. This is why the Las Vegas restaurant crisis is not only about Americans spending less, it is also about who stops showing up. And once those guests disappear quietly enough, the city can still look busy while the dining rooms feel weaker. And this is where weaker dining rooms become weaker paychecks. Las Vegas is not just a casino city. It is a tip city. In the Las Vegas metro area, leisure and hospitality still employed about 300,000 people in 2025, and around 180,000 locals rely on tips in some form. This is why the restaurant problem feels so personal in Las Vegas. A weeknight is not only a bad number for the business, it is rent money, grocery money, car insurance money, childcare money, all shrinking behind the trained smile of customer service. And this is the cruel part. Las Vegas can still sell the visitor a fantasy, but the worker lives in the gap between fewer guests, higher prices, weaker tips, and a city that keeps asking everyone to pretend the machine is still running normally. And this is why the easiest story is also the wrong one. Las Vegas is not dead. The retail market is not a wasteland. Southern Nevada's retail vacancy was only 4.3% through most of 2025. Nevada gaming revenue reached about $15.8 billion. So when people ask why Las Vegas restaurants are suddenly empty, the answer is not one clean villain waiting behind the kitchen door. It is all these pressures arriving at the same table, inside the same dining room, until the old model can no longer breathe.